Justin Hammer sat there at the console of the astral megaship. He grabbed one of the levers and lowered it down ever so slowly as the ship came out of hyperdrive and entered the atmosphere of KO-35.
Nice to be back on KO-35. It's been a while.
Justin muttered to himself. The ship landed on the ground, and Justin climbed out of the ship and stepped onto the soft ground. He took in a deep breath of fresh air as he walked into town. As he walked around, he noticed everything was ever so quiet. He peered around the market and the town square, and it was rather empty. The whole town was.
Hey, Alpha. Link to the ship and scan for life signs.
Justin ordered into his morpher, which had a built-in Alpha unit. Yes, sir! Alpha replied. After a couple of eerie moments of deadly silence, his morpher then beeped. Justin, the whole planet is empty, Alpha told him.
Empty. You're telling me the entire planet is empty. I spoke to the mayor yesterday.
Justin snapped. Justin spun on his heel and he bolted back to the ship and climbed in. He sat down and brought the ship back to life, and the ship lifted off the ground, and Justin flew into space as he left the planet's atmosphere. He let the ship hang among the stars. Justin did another worldwide search, and once again there was no life signs, as if the whole world had no civilization in the first place. Justin, I have found several signs of skeletons, mostly in basement level safety vaults, Alpha stated.
Skeletons. They didn't just disappear. They were eradicated.
Justin sighed. He looked at the photograph taped to the console. The picture of his mother with her team, the legendary In-Space Rangers. His mother was the great Ashley Hammond. And he knew, as he looked at the picture, that he had to do right by his mother, and her incredible will to fight the good fight. He nodded at the picture, and secretly he wanted to make his mother proud. Sir, something is coming around from the west of the planet's atmosphere, Alpha warned. Alpha's words broke Justin's thought pattern as he looked out and saw a strange mech flying around the planet's atmosphere. It was a rather strange green cube. Justin watched as the cube stopped and opened up its wings, and a face appeared. It was a cube owl mecha. Justin scanned it, and it was not a Zord of any kind. It wasn't linked to the morphing grid, and it wasn't labelled in any of the parent databases that he had access to. The cube owl mecha looked down at the planet, and suddenly multicolourful energy started being pulled from the planet's surface and was absorbed into the cube owl mecha. Justin just sat there in shock as the entire planet lost its colour. The ability to contain its sphere shape was depleted, and the planet started breaking apart. The once proud KO-35 was now a ball of grey rock, which slowly just broke apart and sat there floating in space. Justin quickly hit the blaster button, and the Astro Mega ship fired 2 energy blasts, and it hit the cube owl mecha. The mecha stopped absorbing the life force energy from the planet and spun around, and it flew straight for Justin. Justin took the controls and spun the ship around. He then flew off as fast as he possibly could without hitting hyperspeed.
Alpha, set a course for our planet to little to no life signs.
Justin ordered. Yes, sir, Alpha stated from his morpher. The ship took a mind of its own and started weaving through the stars. Justin checked the scanners and saw that the cube owl mecha had retracted to its cube form once again and was advancing in pursuit of the Astro Mega ship, just like Justin had hoped. The ship landed on another planet. The cube floated high in the sky and opened up, and the cube owl mecha stared down at Justin. Justin walked out of the ship and stood on the ground. He looked up at the orange sky with the cube owl mecha floating there.
You'll pay for what you did to KO-35.
Justin roared, trying his hardest to hold back his tears. Suddenly, the cube owl mecha shot an energy beam that hit the ground, and as the energy died down, before Justin stood an army of faded grey, dull-looking Power Rangers.
1 against an army. I like the odds.
Justin grinned. Then he pulled up his sleeve. He then held out one hand as he held his morpher close to his chest.
Let's rock it!
He barked. Then he flipped open his morpher and pressed the 3-button combination. Then, in a shimmer of light, the morphing grid warped around Jason, and he morphed.
In space, yellow!
The Yellow Ranger called out. Then the army of faded Rangers ran at the Yellow Ranger. He jumped up and split-kicked 2 of them. He landed and instantly blocked an incoming punch. He then dropped down and swung his legs around, tripping a few of them over. He pulled out his Astro Blaster and started blasting a few of the Faded Rangers back. He then noticed that every time he knocked one down, another one just took its place. As he knocked down a Ranger, they automatically got back up again. He summoned the Star Slinger and combined it to the Astro Blaster, creating the Star Slinger booster mode, and then he opened fire and caused some distance between himself and the army of Rangers that stood before him. The Faded Rangers summoned their Rainbow Quasar Sabers, and all of them swung for the Yellow Ranger all at once, releasing rainbow energy waves. The barrage battered the Yellow Ranger and he was thrown off his feet as he crashed onto the ground. They came in hard. One Faded Ranger swung their foot and kicked the Yellow Ranger in the helmet, knocking him down back onto his back. Another Ranger stomped on the Yellow Ranger's chest. The Yellow Ranger struggled to sit up and blasted one or two of the Faded Rangers back. He jumped to his feet quickly, swung a foot, and hit one of the Rangers in the chest. Then one of the Faded Rangers ran at him with a grey dull version of the Wild Force Red Ranger's Lion Fangs. The Faded Ranger charged in with rainbow energy and slammed the Yellow Ranger in the chest, which threw him back. An explosion rippled off from the impact, and the Yellow Ranger flew back and crashed into a tree, demorphing as he did. The Faded Rangers ran over and kicked Justin down. They grabbed him and pulled his arms away from each other. They kicked him in the back of the legs, knocking him to his knees. One of the Faded Rangers walked over to the struggling Justin and placed his hands on Justin's face. He felt his life force energy being drained from him as ever less it chased after the morphing grid energy that fell from his body as well. He felt weaker. Pain filled his bloodstream. He closed his eyes and he could see his mother before him. She stood there smiling at him.
I'm sorry, Mom. Forgive me.
Justin muttered. Then Justin's life force was ripped from him and the Faded Rangers dropped his skeleton, leaving it on the ground. Welcome to one of the biggest crossover events in Power Ranger and Kamen Rider fan fiction history, with almost 30 storylines crossing over. These storylines are written and read to you guys across multiple platforms and given to you by the 3 Ranger Bros Studios, which is hosted by Mark, the Red Cornish Ranger, Cosplay Dude 637, and myself, Ty Tiger. So prepare to dive into a storyline that not only crosses over all these stories, but hosts a threat that is willing to take down the entire multiverse as we know it. Let us begin. Rangers and Riders Unite. War for the Multiverse, Part 6. The end is near. In 3. I think I did it, Hale blurted out. She then pulled herself out from underneath the lion mecha. I cannot believe Mark found this, CJ gasped. Hey, it's a good coincidence, Brohan replied. Okay, I think we can make this work, Haley stated. Okay, here's some morphing grid energy, Brohan said. He pulled out a crystal ball and shattered it, and the morphing grid energy transferred into the lion mech, and then with an almighty roar it awoken. Both the girls cheered. Holy crap, we just transferred a mech into a Zord, CJ gasped. I am starting to believe that the only key difference between these mechas and our Zords is the link to the morphing grid, Brohan explained. Come on, we better get going, Haley told them. The Rangers and Riders split up between 3 groups. 4 of the women piloted the lion mech and started following the mechas back to wherever they came from. The majority of the group headed to a planet that was being targeted by a mecha, and a small group stayed behind in the command center to make sure no one found the civilians, Zordon, Shinon, Brohan, CJ, and the 2 Haleys. The lion mech floated through the portal deep in space in an unknown universe, and they quickly entered and exited several universes already, only travelling from one universe to another, and they finally entered a universe and slowly descended into a planet's atmosphere. The mech they were following landed on a rocky, grey, dull, dead-looking planet in landed in front of a massive cube. It was bigger than any building any of the girls have ever seen. Its top surface gently kissed the clouds. The cube was beautiful, sparkling with an array of colours like different coloured liquids all smashing together, swimming against one another, fighting each other, dancing with each other, greens, blues, reds and golds, all in an endless dance entwined with one another. Wow, that is almost beautiful, said Taylor. The lion mech floated within the red-tinged clouds. Inside was Taylor, Sam, Sarah, and Kimberly. Haley, come in. We think we found where they're storing the grid and life force energies, Kimberly said into her communicator. Yeah, we still got you. Okay, flip the switch on the console, and me and the other Haley with CJ can do the rest, Haley told her. Kimberly pointed to the switch on the console, and Sam leant forward and switched the switch. The lion mech then started scanning the cube. Okay, yes, we are scanning, and judging by the deathly silence, we have no fadenizers on board, CJ asked. We are okay for now, Sarah chirped. Sam leant herself on Sarah's shoulder, awkwardly, but the moment called for some much-needed signs of affection. So now we just sit and wait? Tyler asked with a huff. Yeah, pretty much, Sam moaned. Hey Zordon, how's everyone else doing? Kimberly asked into her communicator, secretly fearing for Tommy and the rest of her ranger and rider friends.
The distraction team has made contact,
Zordon replied. All four of the women all let out a sigh, which clung on to the amount of fear that none of them would admit to feeling. The group of rangers and riders teleported on a newly barren, lifeless planet. Durus stood there feeling victorious. A small army of Fadenizers stood around him, and stood tall was a mecha. It was two mechas combined, similar to that of a Megazord. Two dinosaurs, a Carnolitius and a Chasmoshieldon. The mecha was that of an icy blue colour, wielding a tail of one of the mechas as a sword, and the Chasmo mecha head became a shield. It was dubbed Bacarino.
If this is our end, then let's make it a glorious one. Today is a good day to die. What, Star Trek? Anyone? No? Okay, fine.
The Red Cornered Ranger stated, Ah, Rangers and Riders, come to meet your end. Good. Duras hissed. The Fadenizers' army ran at the heroes as the heroes ran at the Fadenizers. The White Ultra Ranger jumped up and split-kicked two Fadenizers as the Purple Ultra Ranger dove in and slammed into two Fadenizers at once. She picked them both up and slammed them together before throwing both of them back into the crowd. Kamen Rider Wizard jumped into the air in his water form as he threw out a kick, his entire foot encased in swirling water. He flew through the cloud and drilled through the Fadenizers. The Pink and Space Ranger knelt down and fired her blaster at the same time. Albert pulled out the Quantum Defender and joined in on blasting the Fadenizers back. The Gold Celtic Ranger slammed his javelin into the ground, causing a shockwave to knock several Fadenizers into the air. The Red and Yellow Skyforce Rangers flew through the air, slashing the airborne Fadenizers. Guys, this ain't gonna do anything with that mecha still around, Kamen Rider Wizard called out.
If you are ready, it is time to execute our plan,
Zordon stated through their communicators.
Alright guys, just as we planned. 3 Megazords. Let's go.
The Red Cornered Ranger ordered as he slashed two Fadenizers down with the Dragon Dagger and Saber. The Rangers called upon their Zords, and the 3 Megazords were formed. The Purple Ultra Ranger decided to pilot the Ultra Zord. The Black Skyforce Ranger piloted the Skyforce Megazord. And the Pink Japanese Ranger stood there looking uneasy.
You've got this.
The Red Cornered Ranger asked,
It's only driving the Megazord completely by myself with a hint of dying by energy absorption.
The Pink Japanese Ranger replied sarcastically. She then jumped up into the air and entered the Global Megazord. The 3 Megazord attacked Bacarino. The Red and Yellow Skyforce Rangers both landed in front of Durus. You killed everyone! The Yellow Ranger screamed out. You took everyone away from us! The Red Ranger roared. Both the Skyforce Ranger brothers threw a fist, both punching Durus, but both their punches bounced off of him. He caught both of their hands and crushed them as he sent electrical surges with powerful sparks, which affected their suits. Both Rangers dropped to their knees as sparks flew off of them. Why don't you join your loved ones? Durus growled. He then absorbed the morphing grid and life force energy of the red Skyforce Ranger. He dropped his skeleton, which landed on the bare, grey, rocky ground. Jim! No! The yellow Skyforce Ranger cried out. Durus started draining the morphing grid from the yellow Skyforce Ranger, but was interrupted by the gold Samurai Ranger, who bolted past and tackled the yellow Ranger out of the grass with Durus. The gold Ranger stopped and placed the yellow Ranger down. You shouldn't have done that, the yellow Skyforce Ranger snapped.
I understand your frustration. I too want this monster dead, but you must think before you strike, or else you will join your brother.
The gold Samurai Ranger told him. Yeah, you're right. If we're going to end this, we have to do it smartly. The yellow Skyforce Ranger nodded with confidence. Then both Rangers ran at Durus. Round 2, is it? Durus growled.
Let's end this, you. How does Sanders word it? You offspring of an evil woman.
The gold Samurai Ranger barked. Both Rangers attacked Durus. He blocked the multiple slashes from the gold Samurai Ranger at the same time, dodging the overhead blaster shots from the yellow Ranger. The yellow Skyforce Ranger swooped down and kicked out, but Durus grabbed him and slammed him into the ground. He then stamped on his chest and took a deep breath in, absorbing his morphing grid energy, and then as he demorphed, he started absorbing the life force energy, finally killing him, leaving his skeleton, his foot breaking through the ribcage that was left behind. The gold Ranger stood there in his rage boiling his blood.
You just made your last mistake.
The gold Ranger roared. He bolted ahead with such speed, his Barracuda blade sparking with lightning, which crackled as he ripped through the air. He swung the lightning-encased blade as he struck Durus, who caught the blade and ripped it out of his hands. He then grabbed the fastest Ranger and crushed his helmet, draining the morphing grid from him and the life force energy after. He dropped the skeleton and let out a small chuckle. I am getting bored. Finish these low lives quickly, Durus roared out. High upon the rocky cliff, 4 Fadenizers appeared, equipped with the jungle blasters. They knelt down and started firing upon the group of heroes down below. The energy blast rained down. One hit the pink In-Space Ranger, the yellow Cyberforce Ranger, and the blue Cyberforce Ranger. Leave them to us, the blue Ultra Wild Force Ranger said.
Don't let us get in your way.
The red Ultra Ranger nodded. Both the blue and grey Ultra Wild Force Rangers both launched themselves high up into the air and landed on the cliff edge behind the 4 Fadenizers. They turned around and opened fire. Both Ultra Rangers danced around, dodging the blasts. The blue Ultra Ranger leapt forward and tackled one of the Fadenizers to the ground. He slammed his fist into the visor multiple times, but 2 other Fadenizers turned to the blue Ranger and both of them fired, and he was hit from both sides, being sandwiched by both blasts. He got rendered into a skeleton as his energy was absorbed into the Fadenizers. Max! The Great Ultra Wild Force Ranger roared. He leapt forward and shoved one of the Fadenizers off the cliff. He then grabbed a Fadenizer, raised it over his head, and threw it, which then collided into another one, both of them falling off the cliff. He then tackled the last Fadenizer off the cliff, and both of them fell. He turned as he tried to punch the Fadenizer midair, but the Fadenizer managed to fire its blaster, which hit the Grey Ranger, and his skeleton came crashing onto the floor. We need that mecha taken care of now, the White Ultra Ranger roared. Yeah, working on it, the Black Skyforce Ranger replied. The 3 Megazords were locked in a battle with Bakra No. As it swung its sword and slashed the Skyforce Megazord, then it stabbed the Megazord in the chest and pulled the blade up, ripping through the Megazord, clearly cutting it in half. The morphing grid energy was slowly drained from the Megazord and the life force energy of the Black Skyforce Ranger as well. Then it turned to the global Megazord and rammed into it with its shield. It then stomped on the ground and several ice spikes erupted out of the ground, stabbing it in the legs and chest. The Megazord was now completely mobilized. Barakan O then swung its sword and beheaded the global Megazord. The pink Japanese Ranger was tossed around in the cockpit as the head fell. Barakan O caught the head and crushed it in its hands, absorbing the morphing grid energy from that of the Megazord and the pink Japanese Ranger. Then Himiko cried out as her life force was ripped out of her, leaving her but nothing but a skeleton. Yeah, screw this, the purple Ultra Ranger barked as she slammed down on her console. The Ultra Ranger ran at Barakan O and slashed it, the mecha blocking the attack with its shield. Then it stood tall and the dinosaur head on its chest opened its mouth and unleashed an icy blast, which hit the Ultra Zord, freezing it in place. Then Barakan O placed its hand on the Ultra Zord and absorbed the Ultra Grid energy from it, at the same time ripping the Ultra Grid and Life Force energy from the purple Ultra Ranger. Barker O drained the morphing grid energies from all of the 3 Megazords. As the Red Ultra Ranger looked at the victorious Barker O and rage filled him. He then turned to Durus and the ringleader of it all. Jason, be careful, we have to think this through, the Silver Wild Force Ranger said to him.
I do not care!
The Red Ultra Ranger roared. The Red Ultra Ranger ran at Durus and swung his sword. Durus caught it, and with a slight twitch of his wrist, the blade shattered. Only a few inches clung to the handle. Then Durus backhanded the Red Ultra Ranger, sending him flying back, crashing into a rock wall. The wall breaking apart and rocks tumbled down on top of the Red Ultra Ranger. Everyone, change a tactic. Screw the Fadenizers. Focus on him, the Green Ultra Ranger ordered. The Wild Force Red Ranger ran on all fours and leapt at Durus, claws extended. Durus caught the Ranger by the wrists and swung him around, using him to batter away 2 other Rangers. Then he started to drain the Morphing Grid energy and Life Force energies from him. He then tossed Leo's skeleton away, which collided into Comrade Drive. He pushed the skeleton away, swallowing some heart and rage and losing a comrade. He then shifted form, changing the car on his wrist device. The tire on his chest shifted into a purple shuriken. He summoned 2 purple shurikens in his hands and threw them at Durus. He smacked one away and moved swiftly to dodge the second one. Comrade Drive then changed his shift car once again, and the tire on his chest was replaced by a green spiky one. He jumped into the air and the tire started rotating, and the tire fired spike missiles which rained down upon Durus. He stood there not fazed by the attack. He ran over to Durus and kicked him. Durus pushed the foot away, but he grabbed the tire and ripped it off Comrade's chest. His suit started to glitch as Durus uppercut the Comrade Drive. He demorphed, and as he hit the ground, he held out his hand and absorbed the life force from Tony, who screamed out as he was rendered a skeleton. Then the Time Force Blue Ranger jumped in and blasted Durus with his Vortex Blaster. Durus absorbed each blast and threw it back at the Time Force Ranger. As he was thrown off his feet, Durus held out his hand, and in a blink of an eye, the Blue Ranger was turned to a skeleton. Durus inhaled slowly as he could taste the Morphing Grid and Life Force energies. The Pink Ultra Wild Force Ranger charged in and slammed both her fists into his chest. He then slid back ever so slightly as they engaged in a dance of trading blows. Durus then summoned a bolt of lightning that attacked the Ultra Ranger. Sparks exploded off her suit, and Durus held his hand out and absorbed the Ultra Grid from the Ultra Wild Force Pink Ranger as she stopped in mid-air, and he pulled the skeleton down and slammed the skeleton into the ground. The Black and Purple Cyberforce Rangers both attacked Durus at the same time, but with no results. He grabbed their heads and slammed them together. As he crushed their helmets in a flash, they got turned into skeletons. The Blue Viking Ranger held his sword up into the air as water erupted from the ground and swirled around him.
I have the power of Poseidon and Neptune. And right here, right now, you shall feel its wrath.
The Blue Viking Ranger called out. He then swung his sword down, and a large tsunami wave crashed into Durus, knocking him off his feet, taking half the Fadenizers with him. Durus stood and laughed. Albert hid behind a rock, and Ghost of Jason Lee Scott from Universe 35 appeared next to him. I need to go Ultra, Albert stated.
I am telling you, there is more harm than good in your plan.
Ghost Jason replied. Dude, we have just lost a third of our team in a matter of minutes. We need to do something to keep Durus occupied. The more we do, the better. And besides, he's gotten stronger. He's able to blink people into skeletons. Something's happening. Albert nodded.
Do not waste this chance. Focus on the goal. We only have one shot here.
Ghost Jason told him sternly, a worrying look draped across his ghostly features. Jason's ghost and Albert then fist bumped each other. Jason phased away. Albert opened his fist and a new white ring was in his palm. He then jumped out from the rock, and a dripping wet Durus stood and stared at him. He slipped on the white ring onto his middle finger, opposing his weapon grid ring, and then he slammed both his fists together. Both rings collided, and a slight ringing sound vibrated through the air. It's time to end this. It's time to go Ultra, Albert roared. Then a colourful white light erupted from Albert. The white light then shifted into rainbow colours. Durus stood there and watched with a cynical grin on his face.
What you have just listened to is a product created by the Three Ranger Bros Studio.
Hosted by three cosplaying fathers who
happen to be massive geeks of all sorts of fandoms.
They are Mark, the Red Cornish Ranger,
Cosplay Dude 637,
and Ty Tiger.
The studio covers different types of YouTube videos, TikToks, podcasts, and live streams.
If you wish to find out who cosplays who, the YouTube channel, the TikTok accounts, and the podcasts, and all of the other social media platforms,
please go to the 3rangerbrostudios.com.